could this have been staged? Jim was born on August 10th, 1960. Jim was someone who was really smart, really well liked, and when he was in high school, he met Sandra. They ended up getting married. They were high school sweethearts, and they ended up forming a really amazing life together. They had a daughter named Liz. They were really, really close. Everyone who knew them said that they were like super loving towards each other. One struggle that Sandy was dealing with, however, was chronic pain and illness. She had gone through several different hip surgeries. She also had hypothyroidism, lupus, and epilepsy. So she was constantly dealing with health struggles, and it really held her back in a lot of ways. Jim really was there for Sandy during everything. He really understood what, vowing to be with her in sickness and in health meant. And he never resented her or showed any sign of being annoyed with her for, having these health issues. So it was December 23rd of 2012, and this was actually their 32nd wedding anniversary, so they were celebrating. First, they went to dinner at their favorite local Mexican restaurant and had a nice meal. After that, they decided to take a soak in their jacuzzi tub that they had in their bathroom. They were literally just chilling in the hot tub, relaxing on their anniversary. Their dog started barking outside, and Jim thought that was weird, so he got out of the bathtub to go see what was going on. And after a while, he didn't come back. So Sandy actually decided to get out of the hot tub herself, walked to her closet, and sat down and just started applying leg lotion, like you do after you get out of a bath or something. And she was preparing to put clothes on, and that is the last thing that she remembers. So the following day, the family actually had plans to be hosting kind of a family get-together. Jim's brother Herman was going to be coming over with a couple other people in his family that day. They got to their house around 4:30 as they had planned, and were just knocking at the door. The only thing that they could hear were the dogs barking. And Herman actually found out that one of the garage doors was open, as well as one of the doors to the house was just unlocked and open. So he decided to go in through the door and then went and let the rest of his family in through the front door. The family was walking through the house, seeing if anyone was home and what was going on, when all of a sudden they heard someone screaming. They ran upstairs hearing the screams, and they went up to the master bedroom, where they found the closet door with a chair propped up underneath it so that you couldn't open it from the inside. Someone was screaming on the other side of the closet door. He quickly moved the chair, opened the door, and he sees Sandy laying there tied up, her arms and her feet, unable to move. Now this is kind of confusing, but they have two different closets. They have a master bedroom closet, and then they have a closet that's actually in the bathroom of the master. So that's where Sandy was, and they start walking out into the master, and that's when they find Jim in the master bedroom closet. And Jim had been brutally attacked. Can you imagine walking in on that, what you would think? His legs were actually tied up using a telephone cord, and then there was a rope around his chest. The police came to the house, and they are trying to figure out what the happened here. So there's obviously a very upset Sandy, who has also just claimed to have had a horrible seizure, so she's in pain. She feels like she can barely move. They have Jim stabbed over 30 times in his bedroom closet on the floor, and then the bathtub was still filled with water, and there was strangely a white blouse floating in the bathtub. And there was also a kitchen knife at the bottom of the bathtub, which they think was used on Jim. The house totally looked like it had been broken into and ransacked. Drawers were pulled out, there was stuff rummaged through, things thrown about the house. It was a total mess. Sandy's jewelry box was just wide open, and there were some things missing from it. Jim's wallet and Sandy's purse were also emptied out onto the bed, so whoever was there was looking for something to take. So the police decided that the best place to start is with Sandy. I mean, she was obviously with Jim all night. She was the closest to this experience, so they bring her in for questioning. And immediately, police are already starting to think that there is no way that there was actually a home invasion, that this was a home invasion that was staged by Sandy in order to kill her husband for some reason. So after interrogating her and pretty much breaking her down, the police asked her if she wanted to do a polygraph test. Many of you probably know polygraph tests are often wrong. They can really not be taken seriously as real evidence. Things like stress and trauma can change the results. And so she decided not to do the polygraph test. She said she was under way too much stress from the police, from the incident that she just went through, from being tied up, having a seizure, all of these things, losing her husband. The police ended up not having any solid evidence that Sandy was to blame here, so they ended up letting her go, and she was not considered a suspect. She's pretty sure that she was hit in the head, which knocked her out and triggered a seizure. But police insisted that it was too convenient for her to have just blacked out while her husband is being murdered in the other room. I've seen seizures before. It's really scary and you totally shut down. It's like the person leaves their body. So I can definitely understand how if you have epilepsy and you have a seizure, you would black out and wouldn't know what was going on. Sandy said that when she woke up, she was in so much pain from her seizure that she literally couldn't move. For the next year and a half, the case remained open. They were trying to work on it, but there were no serious leads or anything. And meanwhile, Sandy was at home trying to recover, trying to heal with her family and make sense of what had happened to them. And just when the family is starting to think that it's kind of all, put to rest, they ended up finding out that there was a grand jury indictment for Sandy Melgar for the murder of her husband, Jim Melgar. They put out a warrant for her arrest, so the family decided that the best thing to do was to have Sandy contact her lawyer and turn herself in. So that's what she did. She was charged, but was released on bail for the next 3 years while they got the trial together. Finally, in 2017, it was time for the trial to start. So during her trial, prosecutors ended up arguing that Sandy actually wasn't really in love with Jim, that they had this fake loving relationship and everyone knew them as this great couple, but it was all a facade because she actually wanted a divorce. One thing to note here is Sandy and Jim were Jehovah's Witnesses. They take things like marriage very seriously. So prosecutors started making argument that maybe she wanted a divorce, but she didn't want to deal with the shame that would come with that from her religion. So she decided to just stage his death. Sandy completely denied this, said that she had no intention of wanting a divorce. In fact, they were celebrating their wedding anniversary that night. And they said that all of the stuff that made it seem like a home invasion were completely set up by Sandy, that she pulled out all the drawers and ransacked the house and even hid belongings of hers. They said when they first looked at the scene that there were a few red flags right away. For example, the scene of the house is really weird. I mean, I will say it too. There are some things that you would think someone would have taken. Like, for example, there were bikes in their garage. There were prescription medications that someone might want to steal. I mean, she had a lot of medication. That's something that's often taken in a home invasion. However, they did notice that there were plugs where there used to be a TV, like plugged in and the TV was missing, for example, or a radio. So it was kind of mixed. There definitely were some things taken. It just was strange that not every single thing that could be taken was taken. But this definitely, leaves some room in the jury for reasonable doubt. Could this have been staged? But there was no side man that she had. There was no life insurance policy. There was really no reason for her to want to kill her husband on their anniversary like that. Another thing was Sandy was completely clean when they found her. Not any blood on her hands or anything. There was no signs of blood in the sinks, in the bathtub. Also, she had absolutely no defense wounds. Like, she didn't even have a broken nail or a scratch on her. Like, if she was really fighting with Jim at the end of his life, he had clear marks where he was fighting back, but she didn't have anything. One thing that the defense argued is that there was random DNA for a male and a female, both unknown, in different parts of the house. Now, if you remember, there was a female's blouse found in the hot tub as well. One thing that was kind of sketchy though is prosecutors were able to pull Sandy's recent medical records, the last couple years, and basically whenever doctors had asked her if she was having seizures, she would say no. And prosecutors actually argued that even though she was tied up and everything, Sandy was able to prop that chair up and lock herself in the closet. They basically argued that she would have been able to tie herself up and stage the entire thing. However, Jim's brother, the one who found them, believes that Sandy is innocent, and he said that when he found her, her arms were tied up like this, tied around her forearms, not just her hands. So it'd be like nearly impossible to do that type of tie on yourself. Another thing that they used in trial was this chair, this dining room chair that was mysteriously in their bedroom. They argued that Sandy actually brought the chair into the bedroom and made Jim sit on it as some type of like sexual activity. But if you actually look at the photos from the crime scene, you can see that there's a little mark where the chair was sitting, indicating that that chair had been there a long time. And we actually found out that they used the chair so that their Pomeranian could get up and down from the bed. They also argued during the trial that there was a potential suspect that police pretty much blew off. There was a guy living down the street who had been convicted of a few crimes and had actually just been released from jail a few nights before. And all police did for this man was bring a business card and put it in his door, and they never heard back from him, so case closed on that guy, I guess. But after 11 days of trial, where most people thought there was no way that Sandy was going to be guilty for this, it was finally time for the jury to deliberate. It took the jury 2 days to reach a verdict. At first they were really split down the middle, but over time they ended up going one way. And that's when they found Sandra Melgar guilty of murdering Jim Melgar and sentenced her to 27 years. Both Sandy and Jim's family are completely shocked. There's really no one in their families that thinks that Sandy actually did this. I mean, really no one was expecting this. They believe that they didn't get a fair trial. They were using evidence that wasn't even there, and their whole family has just been left absolutely shocked by this, just not even knowing what to do. Since then, there hasn't been too much going on. Sandy is in the process of appealing the verdict. The family is trying to raise funding for trying to figure out who actually did this and solve it themselves so that they can free her. There's been one big piece of evidence that they feel could possibly lead somewhere, and that is that blouse that was found in the bathtub is actually a specific type of blouse that can only be found at Costco stores, meaning that whoever did this was probably a Costco customer. I have to really insert my opinion on this. I think it's insane that she got convicted. I really did not expect this. I mean, there's always a possibility. Some of the most unpredictable people end up becoming murderers, and people kill their husbands all the time, even though they look like they're in love. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I really think it's really unlikely. And for them to have convicted her beyond a reasonable doubt, it's just insane to me. Like, this woman should not be in jail, in my opinion. I think this is absurd. I feel so sorry for this family. But that's it for me today, guys. I hope you're all having a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.